Jingle bell, jingle bell rock. Jingle bells swing.
Merry frickin' Christmas, everyone! And as a little present, I'm going to talk about a special comic from the creative mind of Paul Dini, one of the writers of Batman the Animated Series, and that comic is Jingle Belle. Jingle Belle is about the daughter of Santa Claus, named, well, Jingle Belle, an elf girl who has lived over 200 years, and sadly no one else in the world knows of her existence. So she tries everything in her power in order to get herself known across the world, but each of her schemes backfire in comedic ways. Now, the comics I'm going to talk about today are the ones that are published by Dark Horse, that are 4 issues long. You see, Jingle Belle was constantly flip-flopped from publisher to publisher. This is because Dini has complete creator control over her and makes deals with different comic book companies. And throughout getting picked up from those different publishers and artists, its art style constantly changed. I personally find the ones drawn by Stephanie Gladden better. Now that I got the exposition out of the way, let's talk about these comics. So what do I think of these comics? I think they're pretty funny. Although I have only read the Dark Horse comics, I found these to be entertaining, and I knew the characters right away as I read the comic. So on the plot of the first issue. By the way, I'm not going to spoil anything for you guys that haven't read it yet. So the issue is about Jingle not being recognized by anyone at a party as the daughter of the holly jolly Batman. So, to get herself known, she gets the brilliant idea of making a Christmas special of herself. You can tell this one is going to be funny with all the potential jokes they could use. And each one manages to get a few good laughs here and there. The art style in these comics are very odd. They usually look really appealing one minute, and the next page, BAM! Weird facial expressions that make memes look like cute little animals in comparison. Who could have ever said yes to these faces? Wait.
Barack Obama.
I'm not saying the art style is bad or anything, but geez, can it be awkward. The end of the first 2 issues have stories based on the side characters, one of which was drawn in an original art style of Jingle Belle with one of the recurring characters of the comics, Polly Green. And the other side comic was also drawn in another style by J Bone, with other side characters, Meesgal and Ida Red. I find both styles of the side comics diverse and unique from each other, which was a really good choice in engaging the audience than consistently using one style with the whole comic. It shows you're changing it up and able to keep it fresh. I find both styles to be good, but if I had to choose one, it would be the Stephanie Gladden one because it reminds me of a Warner Brothers cartoon. Issue 2's story is about a detective writer named Peter Smith who tries to find the daughter of Father Christmas after having an encounter with her in the past. The tone of this issue is more heartwarming than the first issue and is pretty interesting. The heartwarming parts come from Peter and his journey to find his waifu from afar. And gets pretty interesting when the other witnesses tell about their run-ins with her in the past. This issue's different tone from the last one, or the issues to come, make it kinda stand out, and feels like, well, a Christmas special. And I mean that in a good way. The last 2 issues contain a 2-parter with Jingle trying to bring back an old theme park to its former glory, because I guess Santa's a really good friend of the owners. So Jingle manages to make the park profitable again. But turning into a frickin' casino, these 2 go back to the same kind of humor in the first issue, but taken a bit more over the top and wacky. I believe this is at its best in the whole mini-series considering how big the story gradually turns into. Speaking of the humor, if you're into side gags and wacky over-the-top humor, these issues are for you. Now that I'm done with talking about the comics, I will now make fun of all the advertisements that they made in these issues. $45 for a half figurine? I'm sorry, but do I look stupid to you? Bernard! Concrete, the human dilemma. And that's not wearing any pants. Okay, jeez! Oh god, it has Rob Liefeld disease. Run! Trigun! Oh yeah, it's a fantasy made real, alright. It's as if it were popping right out of the page. Conan. And the jewels of Gowler. I'm off for those jewels. Gonna give me some jewels. I found the jewels. Oh man. What did I do this time, Morpheus? And finally, this one. Experience the powers of the original Final Fantasy with all new storylines. Paradox.
You created a time paradox.
And that's the comic for ya. I totally enjoyed all the funny moments, odd moments, and advertising this comic gave me. I highly recommend these if you're interested in Paul Dini's work or into comedic cartoony stuff. And another bit of news, there's a website that I will leave in the description, dedicated to Jingle, and hasn't been updated since 2004. But, I mean, come on guys, this has to be professional. It's Paul Dini we're talking about here. I mean, look at that flash animation. It's great! Okay, it's dated. Not that the site is terrible or anything. It's got all the Jingle Bell stuff you want on here. I would have liked it if it were updated a bit. You know, spiffing it up here and there. Then you would get a pretty decent site. But if someone doesn't do anything about this, then it might drive potential fans away from it. Well, that's about it, you guys. I reviewed a seasonal comic on time. What a surprise. Will Paul Dini make another Jingle Bell comic and update the site? Maybe. I could see him doing something like that in the future if he isn't doing anything else. So as we wait for the next potential Jingle Bell comic, we'll just have to stick with this dated website and flash animation. This is gonna be one mediocre Christmas. By the way, I just literally found out that these comics are exactly 10 years old. Happy frickin' birthday, comics. You may now rest in peace in my box of comics.
Only from Atari. Made especially for systems from Atari. The video game that lets you help E.T. get home. Just in time for Christmas. Happy holidays.
Who could ever say yes? Yes. 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 I'm saying yes.